Hello friends and welcome to the Standard Showdown Gauntlet. I'm Kenji Egashira, aka Numat the Nummy, and we are going to start things off with a spicy one. Blue-black Metallurgic Summonings. This deck looks to resolve Metallurgic Summonings and trade removal and counterspells 1-for-1 with opposing cards, getting free tokens each time. Most of your cards can be cast at instant speed, making this deck very, very formidable. Let's get a look. Here we are for our first match. First game with blue-black Metallurgic Summonings. We are on the draw, and we are happily going to keep this hand. Now, while we don't have one of our important Metallurgic Summonings, we do have good mana here and 2 removal spells plus the Gear Hulk. I'm going to go ahead and keep and see what the opponent does now. They're going down to a mulligan to 6, but again, with this type of hand, it's perfectly good. We have good mana, double black, double blue, in fact even triple black, triple blue, 2 removal spells, one of which I can buy back with the Gear Hulk, and plenty of card draw to get me to the later game. So let's see if we can do this. Alright, opponent mulligan to 5, scried their card, and let's see what we're playing against. Evolving Wilds doesn't give us a good idea of what we're playing against quite yet, so who knows. Land's not a terrible draw. There are about 26 lands in this deck, and as a control deck, that's fine. We do have a lot of card draw. We're going to lead with Submerged Boneyard here, because it's the only land in our hand that enters tapped automatically. Choked Estuary can enter the battlefield untapped, and if we draw one of our Sunken Hollows, they can also enter untapped. So Mountain and Concealed Courtyard probably means Mardu vehicles, an aggro deck for sure. Ooh, but a Tormenting Voice kind of throw things in the wrench there. Could still be some sort of aggro deck, of course. Tormenting Voice, a little bit interesting though. We're going to go ahead and play the Choked Estuary now, and I'm going to reveal a Swamp here, just passing the turn. It's very, very important to have double black on turn 2 and then double blue on turn 3 with this deck, so you can do things like Grasp of Darkness on turn 2 and then Void Shatter on turn 3. Alright. It looks like to be more of a control deck, though. After after the Tormenting Gear Hulk, Tormenting Voice last turn, they've cast a Cathartic Reunion this turn, discarding another Cathartic Reunion and a Combustible Gear Hulk. And this is fine with us. We don't mind just sitting back. I would have liked to have drawn a spell by now instead of more lands, but if the opponent's not doing anything, this probably favors me. Gives us time to dig deeper for summonings and whatnot. Let's see what the opponent can muster up here. Another Cathartic Reunion. Alright, this time discarding a Cultivator's Caravan and a Lightning Axe. Alright, so opponent's kind of undone their mulligan to 5, I'd say. Sort of, of course. They've discarded a lot of cards, but... Alright, another Ruinous Path for us here. And like we said during the beginning of this game and during initial deck tech, this deck is just looking to trade 1-for-1, super heavy on removal spells and counters, and so it's not surprising that I'm not really drawing anything here. Another Cathartic Reunion from the opponent. That's their 4th of the game. And this time they've discarded a Noxious Gear Hulk and a Mountain. And then another Tormenting Voice. Wow. So the opponent's just quickly cycling through their deck. And I'm over here not doing anything, so I think they're perfectly fine with that as well. This would have been a perfect time to have drawn Metallurgic Summonings and just jammed it on turn 5. As it stands, I expect to see a lot of Planeswalkers in my future. Sky Sovereign, Console Flagship from the opponent now. And yeah, we're just going to sit here. We don't mind. One only has 3 cards in their hand. Ruinous Path can't take out the Sky Sovereign unless the opponent crews it on our turn, but we can always double Grasp of Darkness should I need to, and I think that's actually a very good line. Alright, Noxious Gear Hulk hits the battlefield. Opponent's almost certainly going to crew the Sky Sovereign, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and double Grasp of Darkness here. The opponent has 3 cards in their hand, and this puts an instant in my graveyard for my Gear Hulk. So I can grasp Flashback with Torrential Gear Hulk at any period. Hoping to draw a counter or a Summonings here, but another Grasp is what it's going to be. I kind of want to just keep controlling the game, but since the opponent's tapped out, I'm actually going to go for the Ruinous Path with the Awaken and tap myself out. I don't have any counters in my hand or graveyard anyways. And so I think just tapping out for a 4/4 while killing their only threat is perfectly viable. Notably, this card also gets around Noxious Gearhulk, as it's a 4/4. It's kind of crazy. The opponent's on a mulligan to 5, but they're 33 cards deep. Or rather, they're 27 cards deep. They have 33 cards left in their library. Alright, that's their second Noxious Gearhulk now. Ooh, and the Refurbish! I did not notice that in their graveyard. Anticipates a good draw for sure. Since we have a land in hand, I'm actually just going to play the land out and pass here and see what the opponent does. I can grasp this Gearhulk with the grasp in my hand. I can grasp it with one of the ones in my graveyard. And I don't think I want to Gearhulk just yet. I think I'm going to grasp here. And if opponent goes for a scary play, then I can anticipate for one of my Void Shatters. Alright, looks like a combustible Gearhulk this time. I would happily Void Shatter that if I hit a Void Shatter here. Hey, there's a good one. We can also take part the Water Veil, but Void Shatter right now is excellent because not only do I get to Void Shatter this combustible Gearhulk, now I get to just pass the turn again with Torrential Gearhulk open, being able to counter another spell with that Void Shatter in my graveyard. So, good stuff here. And the land and a pass from the opponent. There is definite merit to just anticipating right now. The opponent has one card in their hand. So this not only develops out a threat, it also lets me dig deeper for one of those either Metallurgic Summonings or a Glimmer of Genius or another Void Shatter. So I think this is okay to do. Well, we found everything in the world. Summonings is great here, but I don't even think it's necessary at this point. I have 6, 7, 8. Okay, so if I take apart the Water Veil and draw a land, I actually get to attack for 5, make a 6/6, take an extra turn. Glimmer is just more gas. And we've already looked at, 4 extra cards on the bottom of our library with the double Anticipate here. So Glimmer is going to be a lot closer to finding another Metallurgic Summonings plus just drawing a card if I want to. I think there's merit to most of these cards, but we'll take the fun option. We'll take the Metallurgic Summonings, even if it's not entirely correct. Wow, and that Void Shatter was an excellent follow-up draw to it. Definitely can't complain. We're going to play this pre-combat just in case the opponent has some random Immolating Glare I can counter and still get a 3/3. And we'll happily just pass here. Evolving Wilds off the top for the opponent. I have to imagine this matchup is really good for us. The opponent is a bit of a slow and dirtly deck as well, and this type of deck, ours, just really can take advantage of that. So the Gearhulk's going to keep busting in, still holding up a Void Shatter, which makes a 3/3 on cast because of the Metallurgic Summonings. And if they do resolve something, I do have a Ruinous Path. If they just play some irrelevant creature here, I can probably just let it resolve. Cultivator's Caravan is also okay. They have nothing to crew it with, and they already have 1,000,000 mana, so not a big deal. Glimmer of Genius, now that's a nice one. I'm going to go ahead and fire this off main phase. Now remember, we get a 4/4 because of the Metallurgic Summonings. Ooh, and some spicy ones. I'm going to just double top here. It's too good not to. We have an extra Void Shatter in our hand now, and a Part the Water Veil. Part the Water Veil with Metallurgic Summonings is one of the best feelings in the world. Because even if you don't awaken the Part the Water Veil, you still get a 6/6 because of the Metallurgic Summonings. Fumigate. Alright, well, gonna have to counter that. I'm not gonna slow roll the opponent, but what I could have done is just let that resolve and then Part the Water Veil with Awaken and won the game there. So, pretty nice. We didn't even need Metallurgic Summonings this game. The opponent mulliganed to 5, and their deck is so slow that our deck can just really capitalize on that. Let's take a look at our sideboard here. This is where all of the Planeswalkers probably come in, this type of control-y matchup. I do like Summary Dismissal, I do like Double Negate, and Double Transgress the Mind also seems quite good. We can take out some of our removal, I feel, or some of our top end even. Like, I don't need these Part the Water Veils, but they're especially good in this type of matchup. Like Essence Extraction, effectively a dead card. Spontaneous Mutation, not good enough here. Means we need to cut 5 more cards. Not the biggest fan of Murderous, or rather Ruinous Path, but it does do work. The Grasps are nice because they hit the Noxious Gearhulk, but actually, Those are the only targets that it hits. So I don't mind cutting the grasps. It's a little bit awkward because it cuts down on the instance for my Torrential Gearhulks. And in fact, it's probably correct to cut a Torrential Gearhulk or something at this point. I am super overloaded on 5 and 6 drops now, but again, the opponent is super slow and dirtily, and we're also super slow and dirtily, but more of the control route, so I think I'm going to ship it like this, and let's go to game 2. Alright, game 2 with blue-black Metallurgic Summonings versus Mardu, what do you want to call it? Gearhulks? Mardu Gearhulk control. Opponent mulligan to 6. We're going to keep our 7. Doesn't do anything but counter, but hey, that's fine with me. I'm actually going to lead with the Sunken Hollow. Now, normally, you always want to lead with Sunken Hollows just so that you can have like turn 2 Grasp of Darkness, turn 3 Void Shatter. But now that I've taken out the Grasp of Darkness, that's not as relevant. Alright, a Tormenting Voice from the opponent is going to start things off by discarding a Gearhulk. We're going to play our Swamp here, feign a Grasp of Darkness, which we know is not entirely relevant, and holding up Negate for one of opponent's cards. Now, Negate is especially effective like against Tormenting Voice and Cathartic Reunion because it's an additional cost. So if we counter this here, the opponent's not going to get to draw those extra cards, and they've discarded 2. Land here. Island lets us hold up a Void Shatter. And unfortunately for the opponent, they're not doing anything anymore, so we're just happy to pass. Get to play the extreme control route. Feel a little bit bad, but not entirely. This deck is happy to draw lands. I think I'm going to keep them both on top. We have a Gearhulk in hand now. Ooh, and we have a Summoning. So, Choked Estuary, reveal our island, jam down our Metallurgic Summonings, and from here it should just be pretty cut and paste. Looks like another discard from the opponent. Alright. Cathartic Reunion, discarding Fiery Temper and Transgress the Mind. And hopefully our opponent can find some lands here. They are 16 cards deep, and unfortunately for them, they did not. So we're going to go ahead and take the match there pretty handily, but you can see how the power of this deck just really capitalizes on trading 1-for-1, lots of instant speed removal, and then slowly taking over the game with either Metallurgic Summonings or a Torrential Gearhulk, just accruing extra value. So, sweet deck. If you guys want to, you should try this out for one of your standard showdowns, or just standard in general. Alright, that last match was so short-lived, I decided to give you guys an extra additional bonus match with the blue-black Metallurgic Summonings deck. We're on the draw here, and we're happily going to keep. Got Sunken Hollow, Island, and Swamp, meaning we have both double black on turn 2 and double blue on turn 3. Alright, opponent leads things off with a Swamp, and like I mentioned earlier in the last match, lead with Sunken Hollow, and then follow it up with Swamp into Island. Lets us do everything we want it to do. Double black from the opponent now, and no plays. Interesting. Gonna go ahead and lead with the Swamp. This feigns the Grasp of Darkness even though we don't have it, and Anticipate is one of the best cards, man. I always love having Anticipate in this deck on turn 2. It just does so much work. Trying to fade a Liliana here since we don't have a Ruinous Path in our hand, but we'll see what the opponent can do. Ooh, an Eternal Scourge. Okay, this is sweet. There are a few decks that I've seen running around using the Eternal Scourge for value because, you know, once you exile it from your graveyard, you can recast it. So things like Scrapheap Scrounger get extra value off the Eternal Scourge. Gonna go Anticipate here and get the Void Shatter. We already have enough lands. We don't have a counter, and we already have 3 removal spells in our hand, so easy pickup for me. And take our turn. There's the Grasp of Darkness we were looking for. And it's not exactly the best to Void Shatter and Eternal Scourge. They can just recast it. Let's see what the opponent can muster up here on turn 4. They might just be mono black. Okay, I'm going to have to take a hit here for 3. In fact, you know what I didn't realize? Eternal Scourge is just great versus my deck. Because it gets around most of the removal. It gets around the counters. Wow, that's actually going to be very annoying. Like I can slow it down by using a removal spell to exile it for a turn, but that's not doing much. Mind Rack Demon. I think we're gonna happily just Void Shatter that. I could murder, but I don't want them to get any of their graveyard synergies. And remember, when Mind Rack Demon enters the battlefield, the they put the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, so I could inadvertently be giving them like Scrap Heap Scroungers or something in their graveyard, which I don't want to do. Alright, we drew apart the Water Veil. We're just going to go ahead and pass the turn here. I'm going to anticipate, and if I see a Metallurgic Summonings, I'm going to take it. But we do need to draw that 5th land. Another hit here from the Eternal Scourge, going to do some work versus me. 5th land for the opponent, and they are slamming something down. Sky Sovereign, Console Flagship. That is fine. We have plenty of removal for that. Going to go ahead and anticipate end of turn. Alright, no Metallurgic. We're going to take a land here. We don't need another Grasp. I think we're going to go ahead and take the Choked Estuary, because if we draw an island or a swamp, then it can enter untapped, whereas Submerged Boneyard is always tapped. And just like that, that works out. So now we're actually hoping that the opponent crews the Sky Sovereign with that Eternal Scourge. It'll save us some life and we can murder. But it looks like they know better. Opting not even to do that into my open mana. Very correct of them. So this is probably the turn I'm going to use a removal spell end of turn just to exile the Eternal Scourge. And we're going to use the Grasp. It's our least productive removal spell. Murders are just hard removal, and Essence Extraction can hopefully gain me 3 life later in the game. And I don't think I part the Water Veil just yet. This is Gear Hulk mana, so the opponent's going to have to be scared that I'm just passing with 6 mana open, and I do have a Void Shatter in the graveyard. Again, would not be surprised if they just recast that Scourge. Yes, they do. And here's to hoping that they crew the Sky Sovereign with it. Alright, so not too shabby. Gonna let them go to begin combat. And I don't know how this works flavor-wise because I'm murdering a ship, a vehicle, but I'll take it. One less threat for me to worry about, at any rate. Alright, Scrap Heap Scrounger, also the follow-up. And I'm actually going to go ahead and end of turn Essence Extraction this. They don't have any other creatures in their graveyard right now, and this uses my mana very efficiently. Anticipate, not a terrible draw. I'm actually going to main phase this Anticipate because I have an untapped 5th land. If I find Summonings, I'm just going to jam it down. Alright, well, I guess we hit a Spontaneous Mutation instead. 2 more lands. I'm at 7 mana, so 2 away from being able to awaken part the Water Veil. It's actually insane how good Eternal Scourge is versus me, like I'd mentioned. Because now if I try to kill the Eternal Scourge, the opponent actually just lets it die and puts a creature in their graveyard. Then they can exile the Eternal Scourge with their Scrap Heap Scrounger, get the Scrounger back onto the battlefield, and then replay the Scourge, so really silly. Yeah, we'll just take our turn. Yeah. And this removal, not very good versus the Scourge. I'm actually impressed by the Scourge right now. It's just doing a ton of work against me. Again, we have another murder for the Sky Sovereign, so not too upset about that. 4 cards in the opponent hand. I have to assume they have some amount of removal that they just haven't been able to cast since I have no creatures yet. Yeah, I'm going to just take another 3 here. See what the opponent has. Nothing, that's fine. And I might actually main phase Ruinous Path next turn. Okay, this gives me 8 mana. If I wait 1 more turn and I hit a land, I can part the Water Veil with Awaken. But I would assume my land would just get murdered. Again, I don't really want to murder a rather Ruinous Path. Because, like I mentioned, they just get extreme value with the Scrounger and replaying the Scourge. But I might have to do it next turn. I'm going to take another hit here for 3. And they just pass. Alright. Void Shatter. That doesn't do it. Stinky Eternal Scourge just wrecking me. Alright. I don't want to kick it. Oh, it doesn't matter anyways. No, it does. 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, yeah. So we're going to, and I know this looks funky. No, I know they're just holding removal. Giving the opponent a 4/4 to kill is not good. So I'm gonna ruin his Path of Scourge here. Oh, they did let it exile. Okay, so I think that was a slight mistake on the opponent's part. They could have gotten their Scrap Heap Scrounger back. Wow. I guess I should have done that earlier. I couldn't have known the opponent was going to make a mistake like that, though. Again, no point countering, because they can just recast it from exile. Alright, they've activated Sky Sovereign. We will once again kill it because we have to. And... ugh, another land. Alright, well, now I can part the Water Veil with Awaken. And the opponent does have Murder mana open, but they can't Grasp of Darkness to part the Water Veil. I fully expect my land to just eat a Murder here. Oh, but it did not. Okay, well now we can Void Shatter anything scary. Huh, interesting. I'm going to main phase this Glimmer of Genius now. See what we can find. Okay, I don't really want those. I think I'm actually just going to double bottom here. And another Glimmer of Genius, not a bad one. I'm not sure what the opponent has in their hand then. Because they have 6 cards. I would assume removal exists there somewhere. Interesting, interesting. Alright, they play the 7th land. They still have 6 cards in their hand. This could be a ruinous path of their own, I suppose. It is indeed. And yeah, I'm going to go for a Void Shatter on that. They could obviously have another one. They did not opt to awaken here. We're 36 cards left in our library. Down deep 24. Actually, we've triple anticipated even, so. We've taken a look at half of our deck. Glimmer I just used with double top, the one in my graveyard, so. That's a wash there. Might we see the double Grasp of Darkness? The infamous double Grasp of Darkness? Okay, indeed we do. 3 cards left in the opponent's hand. I'm going to go ahead and Spontaneous Mutation here to gain 3 life. If they exile it, they can't recast it this turn, which is great. And this gives me free reign to hopefully find one of my Metallurgic Summonings. Torrential Gearhulk. Oh, no. Yeah, I need to keep that. And the sad thing is, I need to keep this untapped land because Choked Estuary enters the battlefield tapped. So we just have to double top. We can play the Choked Estuary. And Torrential Gearhulk will almost certainly target Glimmer of Genius here. Alright, let's see what the opponent does. They go for a Noxious Gearhulk. Interesting. Well, that is lethal by itself. Oh, and countering this would feel really good. Yeah, okay. This is where we kind of lose the game. Because I'm going to Void Shatter their Gearhulk. But now I'm out of anything. The problem being is, if I go for a Glimmer of Genius and just let their Gearhulk resolve, then I have no answers to it if I just brick. So, speaking of bricks. Found another land. We do get to bash in for a bit of damage finally, but we are very deep into our deck and we have not found a Summonings yet. They could just play another Gearhulk here and we would be very, very sad. Yeah, indeed. So I went with the safe play, which was maybe incorrect given our position. I could have, again, just let their Gearhulk resolve. I would have Flashback Glimmer, double bottomed the lands that I've just drawn, and we would have drawn Well, maybe drawn Glimmer into Metallurgic Summonings, but even then, wow. We were just flooding out a bit. Okay, so things we need to do here. Kalitas seems good. Transgress the Mind seems fine. Summary Dismissal's not necessary. I actually like the deck, how it is. Like, maybe take out the Ruinous Paths for an Essence Extraction for Kalitas. Can probably take out the Mutation for a Transgress. Thing in the Ice is not great. It dies to too many of their spells. I think we might just try it like this and run it back for game 2. Alright, here we are for game 2 with our blue-black Metallurgic Summonings versus mono-black. I'm going to play first, and our hand's lovely. Lots of card draw. No removal, but lots of card draw, and we have good mana. So, definitely can't ship this hand. We get to play everything we want to. Opponent's on a mulligan to 6 here. See if they can come up with anything good. And we'll lead off with Choked Estuary tapped. Alright, they lead with a Swamp and a Harsh Scrutiny, which whiffs. I have no creatures in my hand, but they do get a lovely little Scry of 1, so that's great. And we'll play our other Choked Estuary, revealing an island. And this time we're just going to hold up, Anticipate, and pass. Alright, well there's their Scrounger, which is bad for us, but luckily we drew an Essence Extraction. And we'll just end of turn Anticipate here. Alright, so we have Swamp, Transgress, and Void Shatter. We don't need the land right now. Transgress seems fine, as does Void Shatter. I think I'm going to take the Shatter here. More instant speed options for us. Everything in our hand can currently be cast instant. We are going to take some beats from the Scrap Heap Scrounger, but that's not too big of a deal. Can we just find a Summonings this game, please? Alright. Taken 3. Gonna hold up Void Shatter in case they play like another Scrounger here, or Transgress the Mind. Blighted Fen from the opponent. They have their own Transgress the Mind. I will counter that as well. The only other play this turn would be the Essence Extract, which is not too great on the Scrounger. Ah, there's the Summonings. Alright, now we're talking. Now we're talking. And with Glimmer of Genius, oh, Metallurgic Summonings feels so good. Also, we're at a very, very healthy life total still. Alright, so we'll take our beats for 3, go to 14. Opponent has their 4th land and the Mind Rack Demon. I can't do anything about that. I'm just going to have to let that resolve. Things they hit in their graveyard. They hit a Scrounger, an Eternal Scourge, and a Distended Mindbender. Which is actually pretty gross, because they can do the Scrap Heap Scrounger Eternal Scourge plan that I was talking about last game. We're going to bottom this Metallurgic Summonings number 2, and I think we keep the Anticipate. And now we jam our Summonings, we take our beats next turn, but now every single one of these spells that we cast is just going to be brutal. Oh, notably, the opponent did not hit Delirium with their Mind Rack Demon, so they actually take 4 a turn now. That's going to shorten our clock by a very large amount. Wow. Yeah, this game is looking great for us. Would like to find a murder for that Mind Rack Demon, but the longer we let it live, the more damage that they're just taking. Alright, 3 mana here from the opponent. This could be like a Pick the Brain, maybe? I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Oh, a Distended Mindbender number 2 off of their Mind Rack Demon. That also makes sense. Okay, that's actually really bad, because now they get to take my Glimmer of Genius, which is one of the ways I was really banking on. And they probably take the Essence Extraction too, right? That way I can't double Essence Extract their Mindbender. Oof, that's brutal. And remember, these are cast triggers, so Like most Eldrazi, you don't even have to resolve the creature itself to get the counter, or rather to get the trigger. Distended Mindbender reading. When you cast it, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose from it a non-land card with converted mana cost 3 or less, and a card with converted mana cost 4 or greater. So they get either Essence Extraction or Anticipate with the first, and then absolutely taking Glimmer of Genius for the second. Now we're still left with options here, right? We either have double Essence Extraction or we have Anticipate Essence Extraction, which is going to be great. I'm going to main phase my first Anticipate to see if we find a Ruinous... Oh, no, I took out the Ruinous Paths. Okay, so we're actually just going to pass here, I suppose. Because there's nothing relevant I can draw at sorcery speed. I think? This also plays around their Sky Sovereign if they have hit a 5th land. Because if I anticipate main phase and they go land Sky Sovereign, then I lose my creature for no value. Alright. So let's anticipate here first. Get our 2/2 from the Metallurgic Summonings. Hit a... Whoa! Nope. Hit another Essence Extraction, which is nice. And we can do this little trick here where Essence Extraction plus blocking the Distended Mindbender with a 2/2. We'll kill it. And... I'm actually not going to block the Scrounger. I'm just going to block the Mindbender. They already have a Scrounger in their graveyard, so I don't want to give them good mana usage by just getting both their Scroungers back. Which they might be doing anyways. Alright, cards we would like to draw. Any card draw, any Part the Water Veil, or Gearhulk. Alright, there's that play we were talking about. Exile their Eternal Scourge with Scrap Heap Scrounger, then play the Eternal Scourge. Oof. That's not good. I can't actually cast that, because if I do, I instantly lose to a removal spell. So, I just have to pass here. And we're kind of looking in sketchy shape. Oh no, they have the Blighted Fen too. Activation at this point. And our opponent still has 1, 2, 3 cards in their graveyard, so we'll go for an Essence Extraction on the Scrounger. Hope it resolves. Alright, hopefully gain us some life here. And man, those Scroungers really make that Eternal Scourge work. Because normally I'd be able to just block and the Eternal Scourge would be done with. But now I'm in rough shape. I'm gonna double block here, and the opponent gets to do a plethora of things. They don't even need to cast anything. They can just Scrounger, exile Eternal Scourge, replay Eternal Scourge. LOL GG. Alright, but this is another turn that we can cast Metallurgic Summonings. So even though we drew a whiff here, any spell next turn is so good. You obviously just play your lands out with this deck as you can, because you have so many card draw effects, and sometimes you cast multiple spells a turn, card draw spells a turn, so missing land drops, even just kind of bluffing a land in hand is often bad. Now, I am technically dead if I don't draw anything here, so let's find some whammies, please. Bam! Alright. I have to imagine. Now, don't get me wrong, the Metallurgic Summoning deck is not exactly tier 1, but you have to admit, it is hilarious that we're playing against the Eternal Scourge deck, which is somehow just the stone cold nut answer against us. Anyways, that's going to be the game. We drew another Metallurgic Summonings. Opponent attacks us for lethal next turn. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the look at Standard Showdown with Metallurgic Summonings. Check out our other videos, and check out the other decks that I've played. Thanks for tuning in.